All right, sit up straight and tall. Go ahead and take your hands and turn the soles of your feet up toward the ceiling. And you want to take your thumb first and put it on the big toe base joint of your foot, and then turn your foot up toward the ceiling. Those of you who've been coming on Saturday with me will know this next part, but it's new to some of you. Then move your thumb to the little space that's between the big toe base joint and the base joint of the other toes. And then see if you can get your hand a little bit more fully underneath your foot and turn. So that what should happen is that you should actually get more onto that Virasana side of your foot when you do it that way. Then do the same thing with your other foot. So take your thumb and first put it on your big toe base joint and turn. Then move your thumb to the divot between the big toe base joint and the other base toe joints and move your fingers more underneath your foot and turn. And hopefully that'll get you more onto the top part of the foot. And just by turning the foot in that way, I feel a little bit of a lift coming into my chest and also a little bit more of a release coming into the groin. Then take your hands and turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling. Turn the calves up toward the ceiling. Then take your hands on one thigh and move your hands right up to the very top of your thigh. Squeeze your thigh flesh to the bone, and then externally rotate the thigh so the thigh turns from the inside out. Move the hand to the middle of your thigh and turn. And then see if you can get down nearer the knee and turn from the inside out. Though sometimes that, if you're right near the knee, sometimes it can be a little too much for the knee, so you have to use your judgment about the amount to turn there. When I was having a knee issue a few weeks ago, I didn't like to really turn a lot there, but now it feels fine to me. And then do your other leg. So you're really just using your hands to get more external rotation in the thighs. But you should also feel once you've done that, that your sitting bones actually draw in more toward each other and that there's a little bit more firmness in the outer hips. Now press the tops of the feet down and energetically lift the ankles up. And as you do that, keeping the base firm, lengthen up through your side ribs. Make yourself as tall as you can from the pelvis, through the waist, through each individual rib, all the way up into the armpits, make yourself tall. Keep that height and roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades closer together on your back, away from the neck and into the center of the body and up a little bit so you really feel your chest nice and well lifted. And then close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. When you fold those palms together, place your thumb right on your sternum and your forearm bones where they actually go right underneath the rib cage. Okay. So that way, when you lift your arms up, okay, it'll help you actually lift your chest a little bit more, and you should get a little bit more lift coming into the sternum. Oh, lift in the sternum, but also what I meant to say is lift coming into the trapezius muscles itself. Okay. So that the trapezius, as you lift up with your forearms and your thumbs, there should be a corresponding downward descent of the trapezius muscle away from the neck. And when I feel that, what happens to me is automatically it feels like my eyes want to close and my awareness begins to draw in. That movement of the trapezius away from the neck softens the brain in a good way. Then, as you inhale, take your awareness from the tailbone all the way up through the head and make yourself taller. Keep that height, and as you exhale, draw the prana or the energy of the breath outward towards your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. Use the breath to create additional inner spaciousness. And just like the trapezius muscle releasing away draws the mind in, so too should this inner spaciousness. Just like when you nicely clean your yoga room before practice. The room becomes more inviting, where you actually want to sit in there and be in there. So too, that sense of inner spaciousness, just by manipulating the breath on the inhalation and the exhalation, we're creating order for that inner landscape. Now turn your awareness to the exhalations and follow the exhalation with your mind. Like it's a pathway or a thread you can follow from the outer world toward the inner world, the inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Use your exhalations to take your awareness there. And from that still place within, let's chant 3 Oms together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And from that space, inhale once more. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad, bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And then raise your head and open your eyes. All right, go ahead and keep your legs in this position for now, but you're gonna lean over to the side a little bit. Okay? When you lean over to the side, you should feel, hold on, I'll take this shirt off. When you lean over to the side, you should feel a little bit just more opening coming at that pelvic bone crease, the crease of the hip by the pelvic bone. So you can walk over a little bit more, then reach your hand over like you were doing Badakanasana. Release your groin down toward the floor, but extend through the side ribs of your body, through the armpit and through your ring fingers. So from the beginning, you get this nice maximal length in the sides of the torso. Maintain that as much as you can as you come all the way back up. Push your fingertips down into the floor and lift up with your arm. Maintain that height of the right side of your body as you bring your hand down to the outside of your thigh. Hold on to the blanket or put your hand on the floor behind you, and we'll start off doing a twist. So press your feet down and lift your ankles up, and inhale, extend all the way up from the tailbone through the head. Keep looking ahead, and then as you exhale, turn your torso. But if you keep looking ahead and you pull with your hands on your leg and on the blanket, you should feel that twist really moving into the back rib cage. And 2 more breaths. Inhale, make yourself lift up and be tall. And as you exhale, still look straight ahead, but pull with your hand against the thigh and pull with your hand on the blanket, and you'll feel your ribs turn. 3rd inhalation, go ahead and lift up from the tailbone through the head. And as you turn this time, go ahead and turn your head. And then once you've turned your head, you may find that you can get even a little bit more rotation. Now come all the way back up to the center, but intentionally make yourself taller as you come all the way back to the center. And observe the beginning vitality that's coming into the chest. Then reach over to the other side, and you're gonna let your groin release down. And then extend, so from that pelvic bone, you'll actually feel its extension coming through the abdomen, through the rib cage, to the armpits, all the way up into the ring finger. And you can walk your hand out, your right hand out a little bit more and get even more length, but keep on descending through that groin. So feel that maximal length that you get here at the very beginning. And then it's not quite maximal, because as you go back to the center, you can actually increase the length. You can increase the length even more by pushing down with your left hand and reaching up with your right hand so that side ribs get really, really long. And then maintain that height as you bring your hand down to the outside of the knee. You do push your hand against your knee, but you want to keep your elbows wide and pull the skin of your thigh toward the screen, and hold on to the sticky mat with or the blanket or the sticky mat with your hand behind you, and pull your elbows away from each other. Keep looking straight ahead. If we turn the head too soon, then the twist doesn't really get into the spine. It's just in the neck, okay? So you want to get a really good underneath twist before we turn the head, okay? So inhale, lift up, make yourself tall. Keep that height and still looking straight ahead. Move your elbows away from each other and turn your rib cage. Turn your abdomen as well. Then inhale, lift up, make yourself tall. And then as you exhale, turn again, really feeling how the twist goes into the rib cage and into the abdomen. Now on this third time, you're gonna inhale, lift up, and as you turn, go ahead and turn your head. There's now more freedom to turn the neck. Now having at this juncture turn the head, you should feel that there's a little bit more room to turn even more. And then as you go back to the center, make yourself even taller as you come all the way back up. And feel the broadness that comes across the collarbones and how your shoulder blades are nicely moving onto your back. All right, notice which leg you have in front, and then stretch the legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. And then bring the opposite leg in first. Into Swastikasana. And take your hands and put them on the soles of your feet, or the ball of your foot, thumb on the ball of the foot. And you can do this simultaneously if you want, or you can do one foot at a time, but with your thumbs, turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling by pressing on the big toe base joint. Then move the thumbs to the space between the big toe base joint and the other big toes, and move your fingers a little bit more underneath your foot and turn more. And so you get on that top Virasana part of your foot as much as you can. That actually gives you from the very base a little bit more advantage in terms of lifting. Then a lot of times when I do this tighter Swastikasana, my calf flesh seems like it's kind of stuck and rolling down. So I want to move with my hands, my calf flesh up toward the ceiling. And when I do that, I felt an automatic release coming into the inner groin. It's good preparation for Padmasana there. All right, then squeeze your hands into your thigh. Start at the very top of the thigh and turn. Work down the thigh in 2, 3, 4, 5 little segments so you really get this maximal external rotation of the leg. More weight on the sitting bone and the outer femur bone draws in. If you've only done one side, you can kind of feel how different it feels between one side and the other. And then work your way down the opposite leg. A little bit uneven, so I'm going to readjust. All right, and now let's lean to the side again. Okay, so you're going to lean to the side, over to the left side. Now, as you do that, push your right knee down and let your groin release as you lift up out of the pelvic region, through the abdomen, through the ribs, through the armpits, into the ring finger. Keep your thumb alongside your other fingers, and then you maybe can wiggle your hand out a little bit more, and then lift again. Let that knee release down, the groin release, and you lift up out like you're trying to create space between the pelvic region and the leg, and continue that space and lengthening all the way up the side of the torso and into the fingers themselves. Now, as you come back to the center, you can actually have the opportunity to get even taller and put your hand back behind you and push down with your hand and lift up with your right fingers, and you'll feel yourself get taller still. Maintain that height as you bring your hand down to the outside of the knee. And maybe you saw that my tendency is just to turn the head. Okay. Go ahead and try it. When you turn your head, what happens is it's really just the neck that turns. Nothing really happens in the thoracic spine. The turn of the neck it's much more flexible than the stiffness of our thoracic spine. So we actually have to say, hey, neck, stay out of the game for a little while and let the rib cage come into play. Okay. So inhale, make yourself tall, and then as you exhale, keep your elbows wide, pull on your thigh and pull on the blanket. So this time as you turn, now you should feel the rib cage turning and the abdomen turning. And the more you pull with your hands and your elbows, the more you'll feel that turn. Then lift up again. Still keep on this second time around. Keep your neck out, head out of the game, so to speak, as you turn. Okay, now the rib cage is turned, or to whatever degree it's going to turn. So now when you turn the neck actually has more freedom to turn. I can turn it more than I did just on that first side. And the other thing is, now that my neck is turned, I can even get more rotation in the rib cage, having done those first two rounds with the breath. Okay, then as you come all the way back up to the center, make yourself taller. Don't collapse, okay? It's like you're unscrewing the lid of a top. And observe the effect. Then go ahead and lean over to the other side. Now, as you lean, try not to let the leg come with you. In fact, you want to push that knee down toward the floor so the groin releases. Keep your outer hip firm and let that length come from the pelvic bone itself, through the abdomen, through the rib, through the armpit, into the ring fingers. Then you can walk your bottom hand out a little bit more, push the knee down again, release the groin, and then get even more maximal length. So like you're doing a Badakanasana action in this Swastikasana. Then maintain this length at the sides of the torso. Don't just maintain it. In fact, use the opportunity as you come back up that you're actually going to get longer. Push your fingertips down into the floor and lift up through your ring fingers up toward the ceiling. So now maximal height. And then bring your hand down to the outside of the knee. Or the outside of the thigh, really. I guess it'll depend on where your arm length is. I'm at the middle of my thigh. All right, now press your feet down into the floor and energetically lift the ankles up so that the hips firm and you feel lots of extension coming all the way up into the head. And then as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around, still looking straight ahead. Keeping the head looking straight ahead, pull with your hands against your leg in the blanket and you really feel the back rib cage turn. Inhale, lift up again. Keep looking straight ahead, turn and rotate. Now on this third rotation, inhale, lift up, make yourself tall. And then as you exhale, turn from the rib cage and let your head come along for the ride now. Then you should be able to turn even a little bit more, turn your head a little bit more, and turn. As you come back to the center, make yourself even taller and come all the way back to Swastikasana. All right, and stretch your legs out into Tadasana. I know you can't see my feet right now. I'll fix that in a second, but I'm going to bring them back up. Okay, now we're going to do Badakanasana. So take your right hand on the inside of the right knee. Move your knee out to the side. And actually, we'll just work one leg at a time. Okay, so you're going to keep your foot on the little toe side of your foot right now rather than letting the foot fall. But I do want you to use your hands to turn your calf flesh and turn your thigh flesh, just like we did in Swastikasana. So you have more external rotation in that leg. And then lean a little bit away here too. Let the knee release down, let the groin release, but work to get maximal length in that side rib out of your Ardavada Kanasana leg. Let the groin release. And then come all the way back to the center. Place your hand on the outside of the knee, pull the knee up, stretch your legs out into Tadasana. And bring the opposite leg up. Okay. Keep your foot on the little toe side of the foot. Use your hands to turn the calf flesh. Use your hands to turn the thigh flesh. Press the foot and the thigh against each other so you feel your knee release downward. And then reach over and lean away from your Badakanasana leg. As you lean away, you're really pushing and extending that knee down to the floor. Keep your outer hip firm and you'll feel the groin release. And then reach all the way up through the fingers and then join your thumb with your other fingers. And then come all the way back to the center. Stretch your legs out into Tadasana again. And be in a nice Tadasana. What's a nice Tadasana? What does that mean? I think I get that from Devin. Okay. All right, so what a nice Tadasana means that you have your big toes together and you spread your other toes wide apart. Those two actions of the feet help your inner thighs and your outer thighs get nice and firm. So everything's all compact. Lengthen up through your side ribs, roll the shoulder bones back and bring your fingertips down on the floor, the blankets behind you, and lift up into Tadasana, staff pose. It should feel like nice and quieting, and I feel in myself that I've drawn toward the midline of my body very nicely. That's what nice means. All right, now let's do full Badakanasana. So bring your right hand to the inside of your right knee. Pull your knee up. You can adjust your thigh flesh and your calf flesh as you want to. And well, all that as you want to means is it's worth the effort if you feel like taking the effort. Okay? Even though you feel like, oh, I've done these adjustments a bunch of times. Okay? But actually, the more you do them, and it's hard to do with two hands in full Badakanasana, but the more you do them, you'll find that there is actually a little bit more that you can space and opening that you can actually get just by being willing to do these actions with your hands. Okay? It's not even anything really hard. You have to just be willing to touch your legs in a certain way. All right, now this version of Badakanasana, you keep the soles of the feet and the balls of the feet together. Okay? Press your hands down into the floor so your spine can stay nicely lifted. But really push the ball of the foot and the heels against each other. And what should happen is you should feel some firmness or engagement coming into your outer femur bones. Okay? You should also feel a corresponding lengthening of the inner groin to the inner knee and a depth coming into the groin. And really, I mean, I have pretty tight hips, but I would say that really is the secret to opening the hips, is that you've got to maintain or get or foster firmness in the outer hips so that the inner groin can release. If your outer hips have this kind of laxity and aren't doing their work, the inner groin is going to get harder and tighter because it's doing the work that the outer hip should be doing. Okay? So hip opening really is outer hip firmness so that you get inner groin release. Right? The feet have a lot to do with it too. But you can sit here and, you can just sit here and be here, but really work, really press your heels against each other. And as I sit here, I go, oh, I stopped pressing my heel. So I'm going to keep pressing my heel a little bit more so I can feel that outer hip really engage. And I can feel a depth coming into the groin and then a length coming in my inner groin to my inner knee. All right, then take your hands on the outside of your knees, pull your knees together, stretch your legs out in front of you. All right, we'll do Badakanasana one more time, but this time we're going to do it with the turn of the foot. First, we're going to do Ardavada Kanasana. Okay, so move your right leg out a little, left leg out a little bit wide. Okay? Then move your knee a little bit wider. So it's almost like you're going to Siddhasana. You're going to turn the foot. Okay? So you're on the now you're trying to turn more onto the top part of the foot. It's not quite Siddhasana because you're going to have to think that you're going to bring the other foot in and do it with both feet. Siddhasana would be turning all the way onto the top of the foot, but you're turning that sole of the foot. Right? Then press the foot down into the floor. This time you could even use your hand and lengthen that groin or lengthen the thigh toward the knee, but draw up from the outer knee into the outer hip so it stays firm, and then add your arm. So you're getting more and more length in that side of the torso. So really the extension is coming really from that base of the pelvic bone, ideally, as you reach and come all the way up. And then come back to the center. Switch legs. So keep this leg out a little bit wide. Bring the foot up. It's not quite Siddhasana. Siddhasana, your foot would be completely pointed this way. This is more like the version of the foot of Badakanasana when you let the soles of the feet open. So you have to kind of imagine that this foot would come up because it's going to next. And so that's the shape of the foot. But when you just do one leg at a time, you have the opportunity to really work with both hands more easily. So you can get that turn of the thigh. You can get the turn of the calf. Now push your foot down into the floor, lift your ankle up, and draw up from the outer knee into the outer hip. That firms the outer hip, and you should also feel the inner groin release. Keeping your outer hips firm and the groin soft, reach over to the opposite side. So you extend from the pelvis, through the sides of the abdomen, through the rib cage, through the armpit, into the fingers. Join your thumbs with your fingers and really extend. Move your knee and your fingers away from each other so you feel the space coming into the groin. All right, good. Then stretch both of your legs back out into Dandasana. And you probably, as you're sitting in Dandasana, at least I do, I'm feeling that depth coming into the groin. Okay. I'm also feeling that the outer hips are maintaining some of their firmness, so it's easier to get a sense of firmness. All right, so now Badakanasana with the open foot position, both legs. All right, so bring your right leg in and bring your left leg in. Do what you can in this position to turn your thighs, turn your calves, and then turn your awareness to your feet. Okay. Keep the little toe side of your foot together, but put the ball of big toe base joint on the ball of the foot and turn. Then move to that divot between the big toe base joint and the other big toes and turn again. And I'm leaning a little forward. That helps the release of the groin. And I get a little bit more opening in the foot when I do those two different positions. All right, now you probably feel some release in the groin here, okay? But to maintain that, really push the little toe side of the foot against each other so the outer hips stay firm as you come all the way back up and just sit into Badakanasana. Place your hands on the outside of your knee, bring your knees together, stretch your legs out, and then we'll stand up into Tadasana. And we need to adjust everything here. Sorry, I don't teach from this room quite as often as I teach from the other ones, so I'm having to kind of figure out what is needed. Figure out the needful, as they say. All right, you seem far away from me, but stand in Tadasana. I'll see my head. Okay. All right, stand in Tadasana. And as you're standing in this Tadasana, observe the effect from all of that seated work that we did. You know, we spent a lot of time on the seated work on the floor. And I just want you to feel what good happens from doing that kind of work. The first immediate thing I feel is I feel some openness in the front part of my pelvic bone, which is pretty chronically tight. Okay? So anything I can do to get some release in the front of the groin is a good thing. Okay? But I also feel that, you know, without me even trying, okay, that my outer hips have a certain firmness to them. Okay? Now, that is just an effect of the seated work. It doesn't mean that we can't do more, right? Okay, so shift your weight into the balls of the feet, lift your quadriceps and your inner thighs, move your outer hips in, lengthen through your side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back. Now stretch through your ring fingers and you'll feel your chest lift, and then join your thumbs with your other fingers so that they get natural extension too. Tadasana. Tadasana is really just like seated Dandasana. The actions of the pose are really all the same. It's also possible to lean over a little bit in Tadasana. So you're going to reach your right arm up, take your left hand and hold on to the wrist of your right hand so it looks like that. Okay? And you're going to lift up first and then turn, not really turn, it's more like a lean to the side. So move your weight into your right heel and then reach up and over. And as you reach up and over, you're still pulling with your hand on your other arm so you can get some nice turn, some nice extension. Now, when you come back to the center, use it as an opportunity to grow even taller and pull with your hand on your wrist so that you come all the way up. And switch hands. Hold on to your left wrist with your right hand. Press into your left heel as you reach your arm up. Then to get even more length, turn, again, it's not a turn, sorry, it's a lean. You're leaning to the side, so you feel more length coming into the abdomen area, to the rib, to the armpit. Do all of those things so you get some really great extension in the side of the body. Then maintain, and not even maintain, increase that extension by pulling your arm as you come all the way up. And then release your hands all the way down, and you're going to stand in Tadasana. And observe how this Tadasana is new and improved from your other Tadasana. What happened when you did all of those things? I mostly feel, what effect I feel is I feel a little bit more opening in the front part of the chest, and that my weight is a little bit more readily coming into the back of the legs. All right, those of you I know from Saturday class, which is almost all of you, will know that we've been working with some different approaches to opening the shoulders. One of them we just did, okay, but another one is a position of the arms getting into Urdhva Hastasana. Okay, so stretch your arms out like you were doing a lateral angle standing pose. And join your thumbs with your other fingers. Now, sometimes when we stretch the arms out, when we do that, there's a tightness that comes in the trapezius. So you have to let your trapezius release away from your neck. Then extend from the ring fingers and extend through the thumbs, and then move your arms back behind you. And as you do that, you should feel your collarbones get broad, and you should feel your shoulder blades come more into the back. Do that 2 more times. Let your trapezius release, extend through your ring fingers and extend through your thumbs, and then move your arms back behind you so you feel the collarbones get broad and the shoulder blades come in. And 1 more time, release the trapezius, reach your arms out, and reach your arms back. Now, keeping this openness in the collarbones, rotate your shoulder bone in the socket as much as you can, and you'll feel that the collarbones get even broader and that the shoulder blades draw in. Then, keeping this broadness in the collarbones and your trapezius out of the game, reach your hands all the way up into Urdhva Hastasana, and notice how free and open that Urdhva Hastasana feels. Then turn your palms down to the floor, and then push the air element with your hands as you come all the way back down to Tadasana. Keep extending through the ring fingers and the thumbs, and observe the effect on the shoulder blades and the chest. Okay, we're going to do Vrikshasana now. And so if you need the support of the wall, you're welcome to go to the wall, or you can get a chair, put it by you so you can hold on to it. Whatever you need, I'll give you a second to get it. I'll even give you 5 or 6 or 10 seconds to get it. All right, so Vrikshasana is really like that single leg Badakanasana that we were doing earlier. Right? So turn your right leg out, press into your left heel as you lift your right leg up high. Lift your right leg up higher still, and take your hand and put it on your ankle and place your heel right at the top of your thigh. Push your foot and your thigh into each other. And as you do that, you should feel your femur bones draw in. A little bit, you actually can turn with the hand, the thigh. But use your hand and push the knee a little bit down to the floor. And as you move the knee back a little bit, suck your femur bone forward so that groin opens more. Then reach your arms out. Reach your arms back if you're not at the wall. Turn your palms up, and then reach your arms all the way up into Urdhva Hastasana, and then maybe even see if you can go into Urdhva Namaskarasana. Extend through the ring fingers and extend through the thumbs as you come into a very tall tree, and then turn your arms down, and then come back into Tadasana. And observe the effect of your Vrikshasana on the standing leg and also on the bent leg. Both legs got an improvement, but in slightly different ways. You should feel more rooted through your standing leg and more open and light in your bent leg. So we're going to even that out because asana is the stability and also the ease, Sthira Sukham Asana. All right, so get some nice stability in your outer hip as you turn your left leg out. Push into your right heel as you lift your left leg up. Keep pushing into your left heel as you lift your knee higher. If you need to lean down a little bit to get your foot, it's okay, but eventually you shouldn't have to. And put your foot at the very top of the thigh. Push your foot and your thigh into each other, and you'll feel the outer hips firm and the chest lift. You can externally rotate your thigh a little bit. Push your knee a little bit down to the floor. Then as you move your knee back from the outer ankle to the inner ankle, move a little bit so that the outer femur bone draws in. And maintain the firmness of the hips as you reach your arms out, back, up into Urdhva Hastasana, and then maybe up into Urdhva Namaskarasana as well. Press down into press into both heels and reach up through the ring fingers, reach up through your thumbs, turn your palms down, and then bring your foot back into Tadasana. Vrikshasana. And then come back to Tadasana. All right, this next one I'm going to actually use the wall for, so I have more ability to manipulate my Padmasana leg. If you don't have Padma, we're doing the upright version of Ardavada Kanasana. If you don't have Padmasana, okay, or half Padmasana, it's okay. Just go ahead and repeat Vrikshasana. Right. So I'm standing at the wall now just for balance. And I'm standing a little bit, my feet are probably about the distance of one of my feet away from the wall. All right, so I'm even gonna bend my standing leg a little bit, which is my left, well, it's my right leg, but it looks like the left leg. So you're gonna lift your right leg up. Take your hand on the inside of the knee and move the knee out to the side, and you're externally rotating that leg. And get the little toe side of the foot, and you can turn. Yeah.
Yeah, your hips on the wall. Hips on the wall.
Hips are on the wall. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You don't have to. I mean, you can stand in the middle of the room. It's just that, you know, Padmasana for me is kind of challenging, and so I like those manipulations, and then I don't have to worry about balance.
Okay.
So it's kind of optional. Yeah. I mean, all of it's really optional. You know. Thank you for interrupting. Feel free to do that anytime you have questions. I'm kind of yammering on. I know that I am. All right. All right. So then I bring my foot up into Padmasana, placing the foot at the very top of the thigh. I'm holding on to my Padmasana foot with my hand as my groin is tight, and if I let go, the foot would just release. But so Chaya, this is why I'm kind of at the wall, because now I can use my right hand and get a little bit more external rotation out of that Padmasana thigh. And then maybe, having done that, can I get my foot up a little higher? Now push the little toe side of the foot into the thigh and draw up from the outer knee into the outer hip, and you'll feel more release coming into the groin. And then I'm going to push myself away from the wall and just stand up straight and tall, pressing into my outer heel. Okay, so this is like the shape really of the second stage of Badakanasana. Then come into Tadasana. I can feel that Padmasana had a really good effect in that there's more opening in this inside part of my right leg. So I say, hey, I want my left leg to have that too. Okay, so now I'm leaning back with my buttocks at the wall. And you know what? My back is also at the wall, but my feet are a little bit away from the wall. Not a lot, but a little bit. Yeah. All right. Then take your hand on the inside of the other leg, so you start manually turning that thigh, but it's really the femur bone that you're wanting to turn. Take your right hand and get the little toe side of the foot of the leg. Then I take the opposite hand and put it on my ankle and see if I can turn the foot. I move the knee out a little bit and up a little bit. See if I can turn the foot and the calf more. Out a little bit, up a little bit. See if I can turn the calf more. Then I put the foot right on the top of the thigh and see just how much my leg opens for Padmasana today. It's actually going pretty well for first Padmasana on this side. All right, but I know I can do more, so I can turn my thigh. I can lengthen my thigh, and I can push the little toe into the outer hip. Having done that, I say, you know what? Maybe I can get a little bit better Padmasana, and I'll try again. And maybe doing all those things again, maybe there's just a little bit more freedom that'll come. And then I push myself away from the wall and stand in Ardavada Kanasana, Padmotanasana. All right, and then bring your leg all the way back down and stand in Tadasana again. Now you should feel an openness coming into both front groins. It feels very nice. And a corresponding additional firmness in the outer hips. Right now we're going to get a little bit more opening in the front groin. We did this on Saturday in the context of back bends, but we'll just do it here and not particularly the context of back bends. So I'm holding on to the wall with my right hand, and I'm mostly just doing that for balance. Right. You could do this without holding onto the wall. If you don't have wall space, you can also hold onto a chair. I'm making this shape with my hand to illustrate that there could be a chair there. Okay. I could actually go get an actual chair, but I don't want to walk 4 steps to get it because I have the wall. Okay. All right, I'll get the actual chair in a little while. Okay. So now you're going to bend your right leg up behind you. Okay. And when you bend the right leg up on its own, in order for the leg to stay there, you have to move the hamstrings and the buttocks toward each other. Now, when you reach back and get your foot, okay, the tendency is that you let go of that work of the hamstring and the buttock. So even though your foot is being held by your hand now, re-engage that hamstring and the buttock. And even then, you should feel that action gives you more opening in the front groin. Now, you can increase that by pushing your foot into your thigh, moving your thigh back and moving your foot into your thigh. And you can even lean forward a little bit and you'll feel more opening coming into the front groin. It feels very nice. Then come back to the center. Make sure your hamstrings and your buttocks are still engaged. Can you let go of your foot with your hand? You might feel a cramp and then release and come down. But if you really did that hamstring and buttock work, you won't feel as much of a cramp. Okay. All right, let's do the second side. That's called Ardavada Kanasana. Okay, so upright, half front pose. All right, so bend your leg up on its own. Now, in order for the heel to stay there, you really have to engage the hamstring and the buttock muscle. It's just how you bend the leg. Okay. Now, when you reach and get your foot with your hand, okay, what tends to happen is the hamstring and buttock goes, hey, now I've got this hand doing all this work, so I don't have to do anything. So you have to re-engage your hamstrings and your buttocks, even though you're holding on to the foot with your hand. Okay. Now, just doing that action, you should feel some opening coming into the groin without even moving your leg back. Now, move your leg back a little bit. You can lean forward a little bit too, and then kick your foot into your hand and move your knee back even more, and you'll keep your hamstrings and buttocks going, and you'll feel a nice firmness or opening coming into the front groin. Maintain that as you bring your leg heel back to your buttock. Make sure your hamstrings and buttocks are engaged and see if you can release your foot from your hand and keep the leg there. And then release and bring yourself back into Tadasana. All right, and feel the increased openness in the front groin. Feel the increased firmness in the outer hip. All right, so we've worked the legs a little bit more. Let's work the shoulders a little bit more, and then we'll move into the inversion restorative part of class. All right, so stretch your arms out in front of you. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms toward me. Keep your upper arms going up toward the ceiling as you extend from your elbows through your wrist bones. Keep yourself in Tadasana in your lower body and your torso, but bring your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana. Press down into the heels, up through the wrist bones, and even here you can actually tip over to the side a little bit. Keep extending through your wrist bones as you do that, and you'll feel this length coming into the side of the torso, which feels fantastic. Now, as you come back to the center, make yourself even taller by reaching the wrists up toward the ceiling. Now do the other side. Press into the heels, particularly the left heel, and tip over. And as you're tipping over, it's not just a tip, it's an occasion to extend and reach even more. So you can feel this length coming into the abdomen, the rib cage, the armpits. It feels really great. In this hand position, I feel even more along this inner abdominal wall, and it feels really good. And then make yourself taller as you come all the way down, up. Now notice which finger you have on top And before you switch your interlace, notice I've got my right finger on top. Doesn't matter because you're going to do the other one. All right, so switch the grip of your finger so the other finger comes on top. Turn your palms so that they go toward the screen. Make sure your upper arms are still turning up toward the ceiling as you extend from your elbow through your wrist bones. Let your trapezius release away from your neck as you reach your arms all the way up. Press down into your heels and lift up through the wrist bones, keeping your trapezius out of the game. Press into your heels and now tip over to the side, tip over toward your left. Reach and extend through both wrists, but particularly the top wrist. And you feel how that extension comes nicely into the side of the torso. And then extend through both wrists as you come all the way back up. Press into your heel and through your wrist bone, and then reach and come all the way up to the other side, up and over. And you don't just tip. You use this tip to the side as an opportunity to push into the heel more and reach through the wrist more. And the recipient of that action is the side of the torso, but also this inner abdominal wall. It should feel nice, soothing even. Come back to the center. And then release your hands all the way down into Tadasana again. I'm really noticing that there's more of a broadness across the collarbones when I do that. Okay, now bend your elbows, interlace your fingers behind your back, roll the shoulders back, bring the shoulder blades together, and then reach your arms straight and stretch your knuckles away from your shoulders. Also, pull your fingers against each other like you're trying to break the grip, but you're not going to, and you'll feel your shoulder blades come in even more. That feels fantastic to me. All right, let your arms release. Then switch the grip of your fingers behind your back. First, keep your elbows bent so you can lift up into the armpits. Roll your shoulders back. Then stretch your arms straight. Reach your knuckles back away from you toward the wall behind you. And then also pull your fingers against each other like you're trying to pull your fingers apart from each other, but don't. And you'll feel your shoulder collarbones get broad and your shoulder blades draw in more. And then release and keep that height as you come into Tadasana. Wow, I can feel lots more awareness in my back body and a little bit, even my front brain moving to my back brain. Okay, last little fun shoulder thing today. Hook your right thumb over your left thumb and stretch your fingers out. Keep your legs firm as you reach your arms all the way up. Pull your fingers against each other, and guess what we're gonna do? Tip to the side. Keep pulling your fingers against each other. Keep reaching through your thumbs against each other. Keep reaching. Observe how the sensation of the stretch in the side of the body is slightly different. Come all the way back up, pulling against your thumbs the whole time. Press into your heels, extend through your ring fingers as you tip over to the other side. And then come all the way back to the center. Feel that extension. Bring your arms down. Switch the grip. Pull your thumbs against each other and stretch your fingers out toward me. Reach your arms up. Press into your heels as you reach and tip over to this first side. Really pull your thumbs against each other, stretch through your fingers, and feel the nice length in the side rib. Come all the way up. One more time to the other side. Press into your left heel, extend through your fingers. And then as you come back up, pull your thumbs against each other, reach your arms down, and just stand in your awesome Tadasana. Observe how just that simple arm work, not simple in the sense that it's not difficult to do. In fact, it is, some of them are quite difficult to do. But it's not, we haven't really done any big complicated pose. Right? But just by consciously working the arms to get rid of the stiffness in the shoulders, you get this nice opening in the chest and this soothing sensation that comes into the brain. All right, and stand with your feet. You might want to, if your hands don't touch the floor for Uttanasana, what you want to do is you can use blocks for your hands, okay? But we're going to come down into Uchanasana, place the fingers on the floor or on bricks, keep your elbows out wide like we did in the twist, and just extend the sides of the torso forward. Coming into Uttanasana, lift your quadriceps, turn your thighs in, balance that with a little outer hip work. And as you stay in the pose, you may find that the sides of the torso and the spine will extend a little bit more. And if you feel that your spine and your hamstrings can tolerate that, hook your hands and your elbows and reach down more. So this bent arm position helps you extend the sides of the torso more. Then switch the hold if you're doing the hold. Make sure your legs are working. But you can really even pull with your fingers against your elbows to get the sides of the torso to go down. That feels fantastic to me. Place your hands on your pelvic bones, roll your shoulder bones back, and come all the way up. Stand in Tadasana again. And you may feel a little bit of a release of pressure that comes in your sinuses from having done the Uttanasana. All right, now it's time for everyone's favorite pose, downward facing dog. Okay, so you're gonna come down onto your hands and your knees. Spread your palms well. Push from the elbows, extend through the thumb and the first finger, and turn your triceps so your biceps come toward the screen. Push down with your hands, turn your toes under, and push back into Ardavada Kanasana, downward facing dog. Push your hands down and forward, and you'll feel the weight come back into your legs. Come up under the balls of the feet. Come way up under the balls of the feet, like you were doing chaturanga with your feet. And notice how much more that engages the quadriceps. All right. Then roll over the balls of the feet, reach through your arches, reach through the front heel, reach to the back heel, keep pushing your hands down and forward, and come into a nice, long Ardha Kanasana. If you're really working your arms and your legs in downward facing dog, what you should feel is that you should feel your abdomen actually draws in toward the spine pretty automatically. All right, and then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips again. So you're in Uttanasana again. And then hook your hands and your elbows one more time and see if you can, after the downward facing dog, get even a little bit more extension in the sides of the torso. Put your thumbs on the same side of the elbow as your fingers, and you'll find that you can get even more extension down. Switch the grip of the elbows and the hands and extend downward. Then place your hands on the floor and come into the concave stage of Uchanasana, looking straight ahead. Place your hands on your hips and roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. And stand in Tadasana again and observe the effect of your Adho Mukha Vrikshasana Uttanasana on Tadasana. I feel very light. Lots more inner spaciousness. All right, let's do Prasar De Pada. Okay, so everyone stand with your legs wide apart. Just like you did in Dandasana, move your big toes toward each other. Obviously they won't touch, but spread your other toes away from your big toes. Move your buttocks down toward your heels, lift up through your quadriceps and your inner thighs. Place your hands on your hips and actually do a little bit of a back bend and take advantage of all of that front groin opening that we've done. Keep your legs strong, keep the sides of the torso long, and fold forward and bring your hands down to the floor right underneath your shoulders and look straight ahead. If your hands don't touch the floor with your legs straight, just put your hands up on some bricks. even if they do touch the floor, bricks are actually pretty nice because when you raise your hands up, you'll notice that the sides of the abdomen begin to draw in a little bit more and the groin releases a little bit more. Now turn your fingers where they're pointing to the sides of the sticky mats and you'll get even, look how you get even more rotation in the shoulders and more shoulder blades onto the back. Then if you can and your wrists tolerate it, turn your fingers back so that they're running the opposite direction of your toes and feel that maximal rotation in the shoulder blades. Feels really nice. Come back to the first position and you should be able to extend even more. Then walk your hands back where they're in line with your feet, extend more, then bend your elbows and bring your head down to the floor. If your head doesn't touch the floor, you can put your head on a folded blanket or some bricks. Press your palms down and lift your shoulders up. Then reach your arms back between your legs with the palms facing up. Lift your shoulders away from your ears. And then move your hands out to your ankles. Keep your elbows out wide and pull on your ankles and feel the broadness in the collarbones. Now walk back through those hand positions. This is wide, back, Shirshasana 2, concave with your hands back, concave with your hands forward. Walk your feet in a little bit, place your hands on your pelvic bones and come all the way up. And then stand in Tadasana again. All right. Now is the time where we do Shirshasana in class, which is headstand, or whatever you do when headstand rolls around. Okay. So if you're not a headstand doer, okay, you don't have to do it. Okay. And if you don't know what to do instead of headstand, your options are to do one of those three poses that we just did. Okay. You could repeat Uchanasana. You could repeat downward facing dog, or you could repeat Prasar De Pada. Okay. So most of you I know, but there are a couple of you who I haven't worked with before, so I don't know what your headstand practice is like. All right, I typically do try and watch y'all during the headstand time, okay? So I can see what you're doing. Again, if you don't do headstand, totally fine. You do downward facing, you can also do it at the wall, totally fine. You can do a downward facing dog, you can do a standing forward bend, or you can do Prasar De Pada, or you could just sit in Dandasana. So whatever you normally do. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a preparation for headstand.
That is fine. You can do headstand prep. That's also
yeah. Okay.
Mike, why don't you just do a downward facing dog if you're not sure what to do, okay? You could even put your hands on that chair and do a downward facing dog that way. Just put your hands on the sides of the chair and walk back into downward facing dog. There you go. Oh, that looks good. That's really getting your shoulder. Perfect, perfect choice. Then Mike, just walk your feet a little further back. Okay. Marissa, I can't see you, but I'm sure you're doing a great job. All right, Sopika, I can't see you, but I'm sure you're doing a good job. Same thing, Radhika. Press your forearm. It's not that I can't see you, it's that you've chosen not to be seen, which is fine. Everyone completely has that choice. All right, Marcia, move your ribs back a little bit and your buttock flesh up a little bit more. So your ribs are just a little bit. Marcia, do we ever use the trifold blanket with you, Marcia? We might consider that sometime. Okay. All right. Mike, feel free to come down and rest when you get tired and go back in, because that's actually harder than headstand. Okay. All right, good. That looks pretty good, Sopiko. Just move your buttocks up a little bit more and a little bit more extension from the inner leg. Kathy, as you're staying, your legs are moving over to the right a little bit too much, so your shoulder action looks fantastic. So move your legs over toward the doorway a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Chaya, that looks good. Remember to come down and rest. Bob, you look pretty on the money too. Then just maybe a little bit more action through your inner feet. All right. So Kathy, now you've listed a little too much toward the doorway. There you go. It's almost like your hips are turning a little bit. All right, okay, good. Let's see, Gay, your legs are a little bit to the left, so, but the problem actually I think is you're dropping your shoulders, particularly the right one. So if you can lift your right shoulder up more and move your hips a little bit away from the bed, then I think your legs will straighten out. Cliff, that looks like good work in your shoulders. So everyone's doing a good job. Okay, now press your forearms down. Well, actually, everyone in headstand, you're gonna come down. So press your forearms down, lift your shoulders up, and then come down, and everyone's gonna rest in downward facing child's pose. And I'll demonstrate what that is in case people don't know. Downward facing child's pose, you just sit on the heels. If it hurts your heels, you put a blanket, but if it hurts your knees, put a blanket back behind your knees. And after headstand, I personally like to let my forehead rest on a brick because it's very soothing for the brain, but I also just really like how it feels when the neck is kind of in line with the spine rather than dropping down to the floor. If you don't have a brick, you can just rest your hands on your forehead, forearms, and rest here. All right, and then come all the way up. And for some reason, as I was in that pose, I felt this desire to do Kanasana. So you go ahead and sit on the floor. If your body leans way, way, way back, you may need to sit up on some blankets. But go ahead and come into Kanasana. It's a nice pairing of all of the Badakanasana work that we did today. Move your big toes away from your little toes and spread your little toes away from the big toes. And from the little toe, draw all the way up into the outer hips. Now take your right hand and put it in front of you and your left hand behind you. Lengthen up through your side ribs, and as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up. You can go ahead and let your head turn this time. And go ahead and turn again. And one more time, lift up. And then exhale, make yourself turn again. And then push down with your fingers up through your head as you come all the way back into Kanasana. Place one hand in front and the other hand in back. Make sure your leg actions are still going. Spread your toes, draw up from the little toe into the outer hip. Push down with your fingers and up with your head and turn and rotate. You can either keep the head out of the game, but we are pretty warmed up now, so the head isn't going to be as much of a hindrance as it was early on, because we've got some pliability in the chest. All right, for this next one, you're gonna need a strap. So we're gonna lie down on the floor in Tadasana. And feel that nice opening of the front groin that we've gotten from all of our nice working class. Bend your right leg up. I don't know where my strap is, but I'm using my jacket instead of a strap, but you're basically, you're gonna basically put the strap on the foot. A lot of times we put it on the ball of the foot, but this time see about putting the strap on the front of the back arch of the foot by the front of the heel. When you move the strap off of the ball of the foot and onto the heel, it actually helps you root that femur bone into the socket a little bit more, and you know how to do the extend through the big toe, move the big toe toward the midline and your other toes away from your big toes, and pull in the strap on the little toe side of the foot so that the outer femur bone draws in. And this is Supta Padangusthasana 1. Supta means supine, Angushtas are the fingers, and Angushta Supta Pada are the big toe is an Angushta. Pada is the foot. Now hold on to the strap with just your right hand. Put your left hand on your left thigh and move your right leg out to the side to Supta Pada Angushtasana 2, and you'll feel a really nice opening coming into the groin. Make sure you're sucking your outer femur in. Come back to the first position, switch hands, and then you're going to tip and roll all the way over across your body so you come to the little toe side of the left foot. And it's a nice twist for the whole back body. Feels fantastic. Come back to the center. One more time out to the side to Supta Pada Angushtasana 2, and it should be easier this time around. Back up to 1 and lower your leg all the way back down to Supta Tadasana. Now we'll do that on the other side. So put the strap on the arch of the foot that's right in front of the heel. Actually, any place that you put the strap on the foot is going to have a slightly different effect on the leg, the hip, and the groin. So I'm doing it here, okay, because I really want us to work on rooting the femurs in. And so that talks to the femurs a little bit more. But I still have to spread the big toe to the midline, my other toes away from the big toe, and pull on the strap a little harder on the little toe side of the foot, and you'll feel your outer hip move in. Now hold on to the strap with your left hand, put your right hand on your right thigh, keep the right leg as stable and firm as you can as you move your left leg out to the left, sucking that femur bone in so the groin gets nice and open. That feels wonderful. Back up to 1, switch hands. Now you're going to roll over so you're on your outer right hip but on the little toe side of the foot. From the little toe, draw up into the outer hip on both sides. It's I love this twist on the back body. Now roll back to the first stage, switch hands again. Proactively suck your outer femur bones in and move your left leg off to the left. Observe the additional groin opening. Back to the center, down to Supta Tadasana. Feel the opening in the front groins. Bend your knees up, tuck your shoulders underneath you, and lift your buttocks up high and come into just a basic Chatushpadasana. We don't even have to do the fancy handwork that we've been doing. Press your feet down, lift your buttocks up high by moving the hamstring and the buttocks toward each other. Keep your chest nice and open as you lower yourself back down. Do that 2 more times. Press your feet down and lift your buttocks up high. Take your hamstrings and the buttocks toward each other and move the weight into the chest or into the heels. Tuck your shoulders. Feel the openness in the collarbones. Lower yourself back down. And then 1 more time, last time. Press your heels down, press down through your feet, and lift the buttocks up high. Same hamstring and buttock engagement that we had in Ardavada Kanasana. Tuck the shoulders, push your arms down so you get even more lift into the chest. And then lower yourself all the way down and feel a very nice effect in the chest and in the brain from Chatushpadasana. And then just stretch your legs out straight. Well, actually, you have a choice. We have a few minutes left. If you would like to do a legs up the wall pose for a little while before you go into Shavasana, you're welcome to. Or if you want to just have a longer Shavasana, you're welcome to stay where you are. Okay, so if you want to do legs up the wall, go ahead and switch to legs up the wall pose. If you want to just stay in corpse pose, laying down on the floor for the rest of class, totally fine. Just make whatever choice you're going to make. Both are fine. Welcome to stay in laying down. You could even put your legs up on that chair. Another nice option if you have a chair nearby. Regardless of what you've chosen, let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. Those of you in Shavasana, just stay in Shavasana. Sometimes in the next 30 seconds or so, switch from legs up the wall pose to Shavasana. And go ahead and come into Shavasana. And go through that same process of relaxing your senses of perception inward so that you can relax more fully. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax your features, turning them from your outer world to that inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Use your exhalations to take your awareness there. Patanjali defines yoga as the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. He goes on to say that when that happens, we come to dwell in the seat of our own true splendor. Be in that space. Abide there. Now, from the seat of your true self, from the space of your own true splendor, inhale. Consciously use your inhalations to bring that awareness of your true self with you as you go about your work in the world. Place your hands on your rib cage. Bend your knees. Roll over to your right side and use your hands to press yourself back up. Sit up straight and tall. Close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. Observe the effect that your practice has on you. Observe it on every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. In gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people I have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India and down their line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat, in Austin, Texas, or wherever you happen to be in the world, through the miracle of Zoom. Namaste.